Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's SensitiveDeku and I'm back with another video. So first things first, I want to give a huge thanks to you guys for getting me to 300 subscribers. I know it doesn't seem like that much to a lot of people, but after being stuck at around 260 subscribers for so long, it feels pretty good to see some sort of growth on my channel, so thank you guys so much for that. I appreciate it sincerely. Second thing second, since you guys enjoyed the Kaede video so much, I thought I could possibly make this a little series on the channel, basically talking about my different thoughts on danganronpa characters and explaining why I like or maybe don't like a certain character. If you guys think I should do that, leave me some characters down below that you'd be interested in hearing about, and maybe I'll make a video one day, who knows. As you guys can see from the title of this video, we're going to be talking about none other than Miss Tenko Chabashira, the ultimate Aikido master. Now I'm not sure what the general opinion on Tenko is nowadays, but back when V3 was first released and for months after that, Tenko was easily one of the most hated characters. In fact, I think it may be safe to say she was the character who received the most backlash, aside from maybe Korekyo and Samugi, and many people quickly wrote her off as nothing more than a lesbian feminazi. RIP. Now, of course, people are entitled to have their opinions, and it doesn't really bother me at all when people dislike characters that I happen to love, but I think a lot of people don't really take enough time to understand Tenko for who she really is, and just write her off without really giving her character much of a chance. So in today's video, I'm gonna explain why Tenko is my favorite character in the entire series, and hopefully I'll be able to change a couple minds, or at least provide good content for any fellow Tenko fans. Before I start, please hit the like button if you're enjoying this video so far, and without further ado, let's begin. So Tenko is a character that gives off a very strong first impression. The instant you meet her, she's energetic and boisterous, yelling all over the place and saying something about building up spirit energy. My first impression of Tenko was honestly a really positive one. Let's first talk about her design. I see a lot of people say that they don't like Tenko's design because they feel as though it doesn't represent her talent, but personally I don't agree. While I couldn't guess her talent just based off her outfit, I definitely could tell it has something to do with martial arts. I mean, just look at her. Secondly, character designs don't have to be centered around their ultimate talent. A character's design should reflect them as a person, and I feel Tenko's design does just that. Kodaka himself even describes Tenko's fashion sense as a fashion disaster that shows off the lightheartedness of a sporty girl mixed with the harmonious Japanese essence. To me, her design captures this idea perfectly. The bows, the frills, and cute accessories like the bell around her neck represent Tenko's childlike innocence, which we'll get into later, while her poses and body type definitely hint towards her being athletic. She looks like an ultimate, and she's super cute, so her design was one of the first things I really liked about her. Whenever I say that I like Tenko, I always get at least one person who asks me, why do you like her when she hates males? Do I personally believe that Tenko has a true deep hatred for men? No, I really don't, and I'll explain why, but it'll be easier to explain once we talk for a bit about Tenko's character to understand where the dislike for men even came from. Most of Tenko's life was spent being raised in a temple. As a child, Tenko suffered from very bad temper tantrums and overactivity, leading her parents to send her away to train her mind. One of the priests at the temple, the head priest to be specific, came up with Neo Aikido as a way to channel Tenko's energy and emotions into something more disciplined. Due to this training, Tenko was able to calm down significantly. Although she was still a lot more hyperactive than most people, she valued these teachings and took them very seriously. Very seriously. Noticing this, her master began to use Neo Aikido as a way to raise Tenko and teach her morals. One of the things that they told her, and the reason why Tenko has such a strong dislike for men, is that interaction with boys would weaken the power of her Neo Aikido. I know many people saw this reason and were just unsatisfied because many fans felt this wasn't a good enough reason for her to act the way she does when it comes to men. But in my honest opinion, this was intended because Tenko truly doesn't have a reason. Let's talk about this for a little while because finding this out just made me like her even more, and I can understand that this might be a little bit confusing, so I'll explain it a bit more. So we've already been over the fact that Tenko was at this temple since she was a child, and we also stated that she took her master's teachings incredibly seriously. Being a child and being raised in a place where you get very little interaction with kids your age, or any kids at all, I don't doubt that Tenko would easily believe anything her master had to tell her. I mean, when I was a kid, I believed everything my parents told me, not just because I was extremely gullible, which we all were at that age, but because I didn't feel like they had a reason to lie. And I'm sure Tenko thought the same thing about her master. And keep in mind, the head priest would fill her head with all sorts of white lies, claiming that things like being too excited about Christmas or failing to keep her room clean would result in her Neo Aikido growing weaker. This is no different from when our parents would tell us that if we didn't behave in school, Santa wouldn't give us presents under the tree, or if we didn't go to sleep past a certain time, a monster would appear in our room. And this is why I don't think Tenko truly has a hatred for men. This was just something that she was taught, and since it came from an authority figure, she just blindly accepted it. literally blindly accepted it, because Tenko didn't even realize her own master was a man. This gets revealed in one of Tenko's free time events with Shuichi, and interestingly, once she found out the obvious, she didn't seem to hold any resentment towards her master, and she still looked up to him as a role model and presumably as a father figure. If she really hated men, don't you think she would have been extremely angry at the fact that her master was feeding her these lies her whole life? Wouldn't she immediately hate her master just for the simple fact that he was a man? Tenko never holds it against him, and she even thanks Shuichi for getting her to come to her senses, and admits that she respects him even though he's a boy, and even offers him a chance to train in the art of Neo-Aikido alongside her. Again, if Tenko truly harbored a hatred for men, she would never allow Shuichi, or any other man for that matter, to engage in Neo-Aikido, especially when we discussed earlier how serious she takes it and the fact that it's pretty much her whole life. Do you remember being back in elementary school and the weird ass obsession we had with cooties for some reason? This is what Tenko reminds me of, and this is why I could never take her saying degenerate males seriously. Tenko is just a big kid. The same way boys and girls find each other gross in kindergarten is exactly how Tenko still views things, and I find this hilarious. I never got offended or annoyed with her degenerate male thing. Maybe if she was an actual person it would annoy me, but in a Danganronpa universe where every character is so extra and quirky, it was too entertaining and funny for me to take it personally. Especially since V3 does a good job of clearly letting the player know that Tenko's views of men are not shared by anyone in the class. I have more things to say on why I don't believe Tenko hates men, but I think you guys can see where I'm going with this, so let's switch gears for a bit and touch on another major thing that drew me to Tenko: her personality. As I said before, Tenko is extremely childlike, and this is reflected in the way she acts and her interests. Like a child, Tenko doesn't hide her emotions, and with me being a person who values honesty, this was one of the immediate things I loved about her. Despite what a lot of people may think, Tenko has an extremely pure heart, and this is what I mentioned earlier about her representing childlike innocence. V3 is the darkest Danganronpa game, at least in my opinion. I know this whole series is dark, but there's something about the story of V3 that just feels extra tragic and sad. And in a universe where most of the characters' morality is grey at best, it's nice to see someone like Tenko who truly is a good person in the game. For starters, Tenko is absolutely against murder, no matter the excuse. She proves this in chapter 3, where she admits to Shuichi and Maki that she's had thoughts of wanting Angie to be dead, but she would never go through with that or truly wish that on her because she knows that murder is wrong. Another thing that shows Tenko's big heart and how much she detests murder and the killing game itself is her reaction whenever any of her classmates die, even the boys. Tenko really is a sweetheart, and despite her feeling how she feels about men, she's easily willing to put those feelings to the side when the situation calls for it. In chapter 1, before Rentaro's trial, she expresses how determined she was to avenge Rentaro's death, and she was deeply disturbed when she found his body in the library. You might say, well, of course she was disturbed, anyone would be if they saw a dead body, but actually a handful of the other students' reactions were indifferent or straight up uncaring. Also, before this, she was willing to put her differences aside and actually work with Kaito to take part in a strategy meeting he put together. Later, after Kaede's execution, Tenko willingly comforts Shuichi, and this continues into chapter 2, where she takes care to be polite to him and threatens anyone who makes any insensitive remarks. Again, for Tenko to do this, it shows she really doesn't hate men, and she truly does care about the boys. And of course, Tenko is extremely protective of her female classmates as well, and to a much more frequent degree. She constantly volunteers to protect the girls in her class, and she even jumped at the chance to save Kaede from her execution, where she was ready to take on full-blown exorcisms with her bare hands. Do you guys see why Tenko is best girl yet? If something is on Tenko's mind, she's gonna say it. Whether she's happy, excited, angry, or sad, you're gonna see it on her face and through her actions. This is why her character acts as a foil to Himiko's, and why Tenko plays a very pivotal role in her character development. Speaking of Himiko, seeing Tenko's devotion to her was a very powerful moment in the game for me. Specifically, this part right here.
Are you okay with that, Tenko?
Totally fine with that. I don't care what anyone says. Himiko would never murder someone. That's what I believe more than anything. I want to believe in her, no matter what. If I can't do that, then I'd rather just die. So until this body takes its final breath, I'm gonna keep believing in Himiko.
Now sure, Tenko and Himiko hadn't known each other for too long by this point in the game, and this way of thinking where you believe in someone no matter what may be naive and probably isn't the best mentality you should have in a killing game. But regardless, this scene did an amazing job at showcasing Tenko's loyalty. She was willing to die for Himiko's sake, which is some pretty eerie foreshadowing for the next chapter, if it meant proving her innocence, and that level of love and trust in someone you care about really made her grow on me. Speaking briefly on the relationship between Tenko and Himiko, I can totally understand why it may have turned some people off of Tenko. Admittedly, she is extremely clingy, and though I view most of it as harmless, I can definitely see where people are coming from when they criticize Tenko's behavior towards Himiko. Still though, regardless of our perception on their friendship, Himiko really did care about Tenko, and she did see her as a true friend. My first couple times playing V3, I was very critical of Himiko. I'm not the biggest fan of Kokichi myself, but when he called Himiko out for being sad about her death after ignoring her and treating her as nothing more than an annoyance, I was 100% with him. It shouldn't take someone dying to figure out what they mean to you, but sometimes that's exactly what you need, and that's exactly what Himiko needed to finally wake her up and start her much needed character development. One last thing that really boosted Tenko into the #1 slot for me, along with all the things we discussed of course, was the unfairness surrounding her death. The simple fact that Himiko was going to be Korekyo's target and Tenko volunteered herself to take the place as medium so that she could talk to Angie one last time is what made me extra sad about her death. She literally died to save Himiko's life, which was as fitting as it was heartbreaking. Tenko didn't deserve to die, even Shuichi points this out. So I'm glad Himiko changed for the better because best girl's death can't be in vain, period. One last thing I'll address about Tenko is the ridiculous controversy surrounding her sexuality. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I just want to set the record straight because people are creating unnecessary discourse and spreading headcanons as fact. So for the record, if you headcanon Tenko as lesbian, that is 100% valid and you have every right to do that. But just remember that it's never confirmed in-game that Tenko is 100% a lesbian. While she shows obvious interest in girls, her Love Suite event shows that she actually can have an interest in guys. And before anyone says that these scenes aren't canon, they're not. But it's explicitly stated that the person in question will see the key holder as their ideal lover. Given the fact that Tenko clearly refers to Shuichi with male pronouns, if we were to assign a sexuality to her, it would be safest to say she's bisexual with a very strong female lean. The only gay character confirmed in Danganronpa to date is Juzo Sakakura. Again, please don't start discourse over this. I'm just clearing up the misconception since a lot of people are saying she's a canon lesbian and saying it's wrong to ship her with any boys. It's not. You can ship her with whoever you want, and her sexuality is unknown, but it's hinted that she is indeed bisexual. So that's my little piece on why I love Tenko so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I was able to show Tenko in a better light. Regardless of how you feel about her, Tenko really was a good person, and she's just one of the many reasons why I love Danganronpa V3 so much. If you guys would like to see more videos like this, again, please like this video and maybe think about subscribing to me because there will definitely be more content like this coming in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with another video. Bye!